Hey guys, Ryan here. I am currently playing a little Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Nintendo, although I'm kind of fudging it. I'm not actually playing the Super Nintendo version, although I am using a Super Nintendo controller. I'm actually playing it on the GameCube. I have the advanced version for the GBA, so I hooked up to my GameCube player, and I have an adapter that lets me play GameCube games with my Super Nintendo controller, so I'm just kind of messing around with that right now. And I'm just working my way through the first cave in Narshi, or Narsh, however you want to pronounce that. I believe it's tomorrow, Monday, marks the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Nintendo, otherwise known as Final Fantasy 6. And I thought, being kind of quiet because my wife and baby are still asleep, but I thought while I had some chance here, I would sit down and play it for a little bit, because it's been so long since I played it last, and it's my favorite game of all time, absolutely. We're just about to meet up with the first Esper. My cat's joined the party. Hi. They call this Ymir in this version. I don't like the translation in this version. I wish I was playing the Super Nintendo version, but I don't have the Super Nintendo version, which kind of sucks. My best friend and I, Cole, who I always talk about on the channel, Cole Dark, he has a channel on YouTube, Cole Talks Comics. He's also on Twitter at Cole Dark. I'll put some links and stuff like that, but we used to always rent this game. For years we rented it, and played it all the time. You know, it was one of those games that I never saw it to buy anywhere in our town, and so whenever I wanted to play it, I would have to go down to the local video store and rent it. So I don't know how many times I rented the game. I easily paid for the game in rental fees. Yeah, this monster should be called Welk, but they call it Ymir in this version. I wish I was playing the Super Nintendo version. I still want to get it, but I have this, like, I don't know, I just haven't quite pulled the trigger yet. It's not cheap. It's a collector's item. Most people don't let it go, and so I have it on the GBA, which looks great. It's just that they translated it, and I think they might have changed some of the music and stuff like that. But yeah, the translation, I mean, just doesn't quite land. It's much better, I guess, technically, but I just miss all the old dialogue and stuff like that. I remember, oh crap. I hate when he tucks into his shell right after you hit attack. Actually, if I was being honest, I'm a little bit hazy on remembering the first time I did play the game. Cole has a way better memory than me, and he'll probably be able to elucidate this a little bit, but as I recall, I think we played Final Fantasy 2 at his place, kind of thing. Can't talk and play at the same time, I guess. Not Ramvox. I have a hard time remembering exactly the first time I played the game 100%. I don't know if I've created a memory in my mind, but my memory in my mind is that I think we played Final Fantasy, I think Cole had rented Final Fantasy 2, and we played that at his place. And I had never played an RPG before. When I was that age, when I was like younger and stuff like that, if it wasn't a platformer or like some kind of an action title, I wasn't interested. I was brutal for that. I'd never played anything with that kind of a story or anything like that before, and usually those games didn't land with me, but for some reason playing Final Fantasy for the first time did. And then, if my memory serves me right, we had this EGM that one of us had picked up, and I'm pretty sure the cover had Mutant Apocalypse for the Super Nintendo on it, X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. And I think inside of it had a little like blurb about Final Fantasy 3 coming out to North America. It had been out in Japan for a couple of months already, and it was coming out soon. And it had like a one-page ad for the game that had like Moog on the cover with like all these monsters kind of thing, and maybe some screenshots or something like that on it. And I remember we used to look at that a lot. I think Cole even, like, he might even still have that magazine, or like the pages that I'm talking about at least, kind of a thing. But we used to look at that a lot and get really excited for the game. Again, I can't remember if the game had been out at this point or not. Again, like, I never ever saw it to buy when I was a kid. you know, it was an RPG. I think at that time a lot of the games that sold were the action titles, Mario games. It was probably in the stores, but I never would have keyed in on it, I guess. So again, we always rented it and stuff like that. But I remember playing it for the first time. I didn't have a lot of knowledge of RPGs, so I didn't realize just how different it was, especially from the Final Fantasy series. You know, Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior up to this point were pretty straightforward, kind of fantasy stories. Young boy wakes up in a town and has to go on an adventure and save the world, and he meets up with friends along the way, and they use swords and they use magic and all that stuff. But this game starts off so differently. It starts off with armored, Magitech armor, like almost like robots, and you start off kind of playing as the bad guy, and you see the story unfold in a different way. It's kind of interesting in that sense. Brought to you by Tim Hortons. Seriously, I don't know how Mars does this either, like play the game and talk into the camera. Even if it's only sporadically, it totally confuses me. I guess I'm not very good at, there you go. Multitasking. Down goes Welk. Sorry, Emir. I just had so many memories with the game. Like, it was something that whenever I was just kind of like, I don't want to say bored, but whenever I was like kind of thinking about getting a game, I would think, how far did I get in Final Fantasy 3 last time? Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember the first time I couldn't get past the battle in like up in the mountains of Narshe where you fight Kefka, and he has like all these squads and you have all the Moogles. I remember the first time I could not beat that. I could not fathom that. And I remember the next time I got it, getting to that point and just demolishing it, like it just clicked. And then I couldn't get past the part where you go onto the floating comet and you have to battle your way through that. I found that really, really difficult. And just things like that. I remember, whenever I was down or something like that, I could go grab this and just kind of play it. It's just one of those games that just totally clicks with me. The storyline, the fantasy kind of steampunk kind of atmosphere. I still think this has the best story of all the Final Fantasy games. I think it's so expansive, and there's so many great characters, and every one of those characters you kind of want to know a lot about. And I mean, the game is loaded with characters. That's kind of one of the things about it. There's so many of them that, in a way, they made the magic system completely customizable, because there's so many characters that have so many of their own little like quirks and move sets and things like that, that it's like, yeah, you can give them whatever magic you want. I always thought that was kind of cool. And you really do want to know a lot about all the characters. They just made them all so interesting and unique. And it all just plays together so perfectly. I mean, even the ending of the game, you actually get like a little bit of info about every one of them, because they're all so important. I think that's kind of cool. All the settings and the look, and it's just all so different than, like, you play a Final Fantasy game before it and everything's bright and colorful, and you look at the world map and everything's lush green with blue, azure blue skies, and then you get to this game and you have places that are dark and dank, and the grass can look burned by the sun, or the sky is red, things like that. It just gives it a totally different feel. And of course there's this huge plot twist in the middle that I won't ruin for anybody who hasn't played the game, but you almost feel like you play two games in a way. There's just so much here to enjoy. I went out of my way to get a PlayStation after this, or I really wanted one and eventually got one. And because of this game, I played so many games that I never would have tried. So many RPGs that I absolutely adored. And some more on the Super Nintendo that I never would have played too, and so on and so forth, PS2 and on. And this game was kind of like the gateway drug, I guess, to RPGs for me. So, I've got this fuzzy memory of it in my heart. And I love Final Fantasy 2 as well. I actually do have that one for the Super Nintendo, and I adore that game as well. And so many others. I mean, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 7. There's just so many. I keep saying the Final Fantasy games. I'm awful. Suikoden. There, just to switch it up a little bit, but you get the idea. And yeah, I just really love this game. So if you, for some reason, haven't played it, which I find, it might be a little bit hard to believe, but I know these days it isn't super easy to get, but I think, you know, as awful as it sounds, it is out on like Android and iOS and stuff like that. I haven't tried that version because I hear it's kind of weird looking. They like cleaned up all the sprites and, you know, changed some stuff, and I don't know, I can't imagine playing it without these sprites. It'd be so weird. But you know, you can get it there. I think it's on like the Wii Virtual Console. I don't. It's definitely not on the Wii U yet. Just trying to think of all the outlets you could get it. You could try to get that Super Nintendo cart that I'm still kind of holding out for. The Game Boy Advance version, Final Fantasy VI Advance. It's probably on the PlayStation Network, so you could probably get that on your PS3, your PS4, and your PSP, and your PS Vita. I don't know. But if you can get your hands on it and play it and you haven't, I just can't recommend it enough. It's a completely different kind of experience, I think, than most of the RPGs that I've ever played. And I think you'll like it. You may not like it as much as I do, but I think if you haven't played it, you will love it. And I think it's totally worth your time. And yeah, you should totally check it out. So anyway, I'm going to cut this off here because I'm just going to keep babbling. But thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll hopefully see you soon with another video. So, peace.